Greetings, my friends, and welcome to Victorian Pocket Mirror, brought to you by tinypandora.com. You can find links to the supplies in the description box below the video. Today I'm starting with this nice little slab. It's a alizarin crimson and gold and a little bit of yellow gold glitter clays. Those are all Sculpey Primo clays. And I spritzed it on the bottom with some water, and I'll put some on the top too. The water on the top makes it easier for you to push your fingers down on it without lifting it back up. And that's what we're going to do. So take your time in this step, and as it gets warmer and warmer, it gets easier to conform it down into the mold. You want to dry it off, and it's good to roll over it one more time. Make sure that it's nice and flat and uniform on the back. So I've got a good impression, and now I can put on my gold. Today I'm using some Inka Gold. It's really an interesting kind of coating. It sets up in the oven, so you don't have to seal it necessarily. And that's really good on some projects that you don't want to put a coating on. So the baking process sets it, and it's permanent. It takes the tiniest amount. That jar holds more than you could use in probably a lifetime, unless you're going to be doing like a cathedral or something. Put your tight lid on there, okay, so it doesn't dry out. And I just use my fingers on this part because I want it just on the top area. You add the gold as you go so that you can get the depth of color that you want in there. So you can just add it a little bit at a time. If you do get it down in the recessed area, just take a Q-tip with just a dot of alcohol on it, and you can clean that back off of there. So I've cut that with my 2-inch cutter that comes with the compacts at tinypandora.com. So I know that my circle is going to fit in the space that I have. These are some 2mm chatons, little pointed back rhinestones. So pretty. And I'm putting them on with my crystal katana. I put gold ones around the edges and those white ones in the middle. I like the way the crystal katana has that little end on it where you can seat them down with that. It's pretty cool. I want to do one of these in blues and greens. I want to do one in silvers and pinks. I think they'd make really nice gifts, compacts like these, you know. Very personalized, huh? So once my stones look about the way I want them to, I'm going to settle them down with just one of my king caps. You could use any kind of flat acrylic piece. And when you do that, it makes them all seat at the same level. And that really makes for a nicer piece. Now these need to be popped out and glued. I take a toothpick and I pop them out and put them back in there with a little toothpick of super glue in each hole, because it really makes for a better bond. Otherwise they really will come out. So you bake that 275 for 30 minutes and cool it off. And now I'm going to make my glitter paint. You've probably seen my other videos where I make this glitter paint with DeepShine. It's a UV finish, and it's really neat because it's thin enough that you can mix inclusions into it and it still cures up really nicely. So I'm going to put some of my iridescent glitter in there. This one looks white in the cup, but it's really neat. It's kind of rainbowy, kind of aurora borealis. Picks up the colors around it, which I like. And I'm going to use that giant spoonful and a few drops of DeepShine. I should eat with that spoon. Think of how thin I would be. All right, so I'm just going to stir that up and drop it into a few of the areas. I think just the ones around the stones is where I really want it. Listen, if you take your first drop and you slop it out of the hole a little bit like I just did, Don't worry about that. Just push it back in with a toothpick. And that's kind of the reason, that we bake this piece first, because DeepShine and glitter and all that stuff can go on raw clay. But I wouldn't want to be poking around raw clay right now. So it really behooves you to do, the baking first. And that way I've got a lot of leeway on anything I need to do to it afterwards. So we'll go around and put it in those little ovals. And I'll show you what to do if you get too much in one of them. So you see that one right there. It looks kind of like it's too full. Just take your Q-tip. What will we do with that Q-tips, right? And just absorb some of it back, and it's just like it never happened. So once they're just the way you want, you'll cure that up in your UV light. Now, if you don't have the light in the UV resin, just use some clear with, clear coat of any kind with some glitter. I'm sure it would be really pretty. So I've got a generous amount of glue on there, and I'm going to clamp it also, and I have these clamps in my store. They're just tight enough, they don't dent anything, but they really hold things on and make them feel secure. I'll let that dry before I close it. And then I'm going to add my pretty rhinestone chain. Now you can use this kind of chain if you can get it. I have it sometimes in my store when I can get it. You can look. But I'm leaning that nozzle on the edge of the clay, and it's giving me a pretty easy way to get it on the flat surface where I need it. Now I'm going to lay down my chain. Just take a second with this. Make sure you measure it before you start, okay? And just make sure it's not going to flip over and get glue on the stones, because that dulls them out quite a bit. Now if I had this to do over again, I think I would have filed the edge of that clay piece before I put it in the little bezel hole there. And I think it would have been kind of a little more even around the edge. But you live and learn. I still like it. And now you have a nice mirror, and I hope you enjoy it.